Good evening, and thank you all for joining me this evening. Right? If all you thought Sunday was hot, if all you thought Sunday, when the season premiere happened, things was hot, Sunday was just the precursor. So the reason I didn't do a live on Wednesday was because I had more information I wanted to be able to collect. And I wanted to make sure that I was in a position to be able to say things to you from an informed perspective, because I don't like to shortchange people. I don't like to half-ass things. My way is not to give anybody 6 for 9. That is not my thing at all. So good evening, because it's done 7 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Happy Republic Day. Right? I wanted to be able to say Happy Republic Day to all of you. And I want you all to understand this. Republic Day is an important day in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, because Republic Day is when we moved from having the Queen be in charge of us to having our own president. And I thought it was fitting, absolutely fitting, that we're in the middle of a bacchanal that ends up at the office of the president, and are getting the opportunity to talk to all you about one of these commissions that falls under the purview of the president. So let me jump into our little social studies, and then after that we're going to jump into some history, and then we're going to jump into some current affairs. Good evening, everybody. Happy to see you all. Let me get into it. 1962, Eric Williams, as Prime Minister, as Premier, would have gone to Marlborough House with members of his cabinet, his government, and also members of the opposition. And the opposition at Marlborough House in London would have argued for service commissions, a series of service commissions. And the argument was this. The opposition was concerned that there would be unfairness in Trinidad. And the argument back then in 1962 was that there would be ethnic unfairness in Trinidad. Right? They started to say it will have a black government in power. How are we so certain that persons of Indian and other descent, mostly of Indian descent, because it was the DLP that was making the argument, how are we so certain that these other ethnic groups would be treated fairly and squarely in a country where it's a black government with, by at that point in time, a predominantly black population? Sorry. So, to assuage everybody's concerns about fairness, an arrangement was made. Concession was granted. Oh my goodness, my throat. Let me get out of my throat entirely, because I want to be able to say everything that I need to say here properly. So a concession was made, and the concession that was made was that all of the major spheres in the country, major sectors, major areas of employment and stuff within the public sector would have service commissions. And the service commissions, so they got created. So you have a teaching service commission, public service commission, judicial and legal service commission, police service commission, the law commission. There are a number of commissions. And at that point in time, they would have fallen under the Governor General's purview. Right? Because the Governor General was the representative of the Crown. So the opposition at that point in time felt that things here could only be fair if those commissions were set up, and the commissions were then put under the Governor General. Then 1976, so this happens in 1962. This is what the opposition argues for in 1962. The opposition is, that concession is made in 1962. We have the Service Commission set up. Then 1976, our constitution changes. We remove the Queen Well, we removed the British monarchy as being our head of state, and we implemented our own head of state. So the minute we put in a president, we were in a position where whoever is the president, that person functions as our head of state, and that person is responsible for these service commissions. Why am I telling you all of this right now? Why am I going into this basic social studies lesson on a Republic Friday evening? Because this whole piece of bacchanal, and I warn it only from now, my language going to get a little spicy this evening. So if you know you have your niece, your nephew, your children, your grandchildren sit down listening to me this evening, brace all yourselves. My language might get a little hot, right? In this whole bacchanal, we ain't hear from Paula May yet. And I am at the point where I'm not going with no Her Excellency, right? Because when Paula May was sworn in as president, one of the first things that come out Paula May's mouth in her inaugural speech was she buffed the country and buffed the country about public servants doing an honest day's work for an honest day's wage, right? That is in her inaugural address to the nation. She talked about discipline, tolerance, production, and public servants doing an honest day's work for an honest day's wage. So my question is, have we been getting an honest day's work for the wages that we paying the president and the Public Service Commission? Are we? Are we getting work from them? Because this whole madness and bacchanal take place. And I am well aware that the president, when she ready, could issue press release and could issue buff to people about all kind of thing, right? Lego press release and buff people about all kind of thing. And up to now, in this whole fiasco, in this whole fracas, in this whole mass band that heading down the road, we have yet to hear from Paula May. So we ain't hear from Paula May, and the Police Service Commission that falls under her, that is answerable to her and also ought to be accountable to us. We can't hear nothing from them. The last time the Police Service Commission put out any kind of correspondence in the public domain, official correspondence in the public domain, was to tell the public that they have appointed Gary Griffith as commissioner. Let me find that. Yes. Let me find it for you. Time for this to go down. Are you like my flyer? Tech Guy was working hard today. I get an honest day's work from Tech Guy today. So I want you to check the date on this. The 20th of August, right? So the 20th of August, let me small up myself here because I'll be using this feature today plenty, right? I have plenty image to throw up and thing. So the 20th of August is the last time we hear something from the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission appoints Gary Griffith to act as Commissioner of Police. So here's my question. When I saw you all here on Sunday and I explained to you all how Legal Notice 183 works and how Section 123, 1 and 2 and 3, right, Clause 1, 2, 3 within the Constitution works, I told you all that the Police Service Commission has to come up with a list of nominees, pass it on to the president, and then the president had to pass it on to the parliament, and the parliament have to meet and debate to be able to appoint an acting commissioner. This is under the actual legislation that exists right now, right? The legislation that in place since July of this year, the new legislation, right? That plenty people didn't know and didn't understand about. Today, up to now, that is the legislation that in place. Based on that legislation, this Police Service Commission that is in front of us here in this notice have no remit to appoint. They can select a commissioner of police. The Prime Minister come this week and say it, but I jump in the gun. And I want to jump the gun. And let me tell you why I want to jump the gun. Because I have a whole timeline for all you. I want us to go through the timeline. And when we go through the timeline, we're going to jump into the future. And I'm going to tell all you what is I hear supposed to happen tomorrow. Right? So, we had the little social studies lesson at the start. And social studies is something that I learned in school. There are a couple other things that I learned in school as well. I learned about class, I learned about color, I learned about hierarchies, and I learned about people telling me that I must respect people because of their social class, because of their complexion, and because they hold in power and position and authority. Those are some of the very foolish lessons that I learned in school, and I threw those lessons aside as quickly as I could. Once I knew better and understood that you don't just respect people just like that. They have to perform in a particular way. They have to earn your trust. They have to earn your respect. And I'm sitting here today to tell you, we're dealing up with a whole set of people that don't respect us. They are pissing on us. They are shitting on us. And they do not respect us. But let me get into my timeline. Because the timeline important. And let me tell you why the timeline important. The timeline important because for the last 4 weeks since April 20th to now, there has been so much noise about the position of Commissioner of Police. So many stories, so much back and forth and to-ing and fro-ing with the terms Commissioner of Police, with the phrase, the word Commissioner of Police, that we don't know what to believe. Somebody tell me today that they hear Gary reinstated as Commissioner of Police. So I said, where you get that from? And they sent me the Guardian front page story today. And I said, well, that cannot be the case. And it cannot be the case because based on the law that we talked about on Sunday, nobody ain't send no list to the president, and the president ain't send no list to the parliament, and the parliament ain't debate. So if that debate did not take place, where they vote for Griffith to act as commissioner, then no, he is not commissioner. Because based on our laws and our constitution, that is the process that has to take place. But let me get into my timeline. Right? Timelines are so important. And let me add myself again here. Right. Good. So, this is my little toppy timeline. The 17th of June. On the 17th of June, that's when the government in the parliament would have used a statutory instruction to make changes to the selection process. So the legal notice from July 2021 that we would have looked at on Sunday when we had the season premiere, and I come and I explained to all you how the legislation is supposed to work. Right. The 17th of June is when, by statutory instruction, this thing get dealt up with in the parliament. I was watching parliament the day that thing get dealt up with, right? So I know who get up in the parliament to give the statutory instruction. Right. The 29th of June, Gary announced his intention to reapply for the Commissioner of Police position. The 13th of July, Gary submit his application for Commissioner of Police, and that was the same day the application come out in the papers. So the application come out on the 13th, he sent in his application one time, which to me suggests a couple things. Either A, he had that sit down there waiting the entire time, so as soon as the application come out, he sent in his application, or somebody give him a S and say, hey, the application coming out on the 13th. And based on the way email does get copy and thing in this place, any number could play, right? Then the 13th of August, so that's the 13th of July, 1 month later, the Police Service Commission declines to answer any queries at all about recruitment for the commissioner of police position. Right? So no questions, then answering no queries. Then on the 15th, a former police service commissioner, Ramesh Deosaran, says that there needs to be more transparency in the process. 16th, Gary receives his letter from the Police Service Commission appointing him as acting cop. Now, the first time we see it was the 20th. But there was a sort of talk, right? There was talk where Griffith claimed that he had received his letter. Nobody saw the letter, right? Then Griffith confirmed on the 17th, Griffith confirmed that he's going to be the acting commissioner of police. On the same 17th, the Police Service Commission put out a notice saying that they didn't put out a notice. The media reached out to them. And the person who was at the head of their public education unit inside the Police Service Commission said that they cannot confirm or deny whether Griffith was the new acting commissioner of police, right? And a source inside the police would have said that it has to go to Parliament, right? And so Griffith on a short work acting for a few days. All of that happened in the month of August, right? So by the 17th of August, and remember, well, we're going back to the image that I showed you just now. Then the same 17th of August, plenty stories take place that day. Griffith confirmed to the Newsday that he received a letter from the Police Service Commission. And I'm going to say this. I would have had a conversation with the commissioner that same day. And I asked, have you been confirmed to return? And he said, yes, he has been confirmed to return. He has a letter in his possession from the Police Service Commission. Then on the 18th of August, the head of the public education unit at the Police Service Commission confirmed that they were in receipt of the merit list of candidates that was sent to the office of the president. This is a story in the Newsday. And they claimed that the shortlist of candidates had to be sent to the office of the president soon. Now, I am not sure if that shortlist is shortlist for who's supposed to be acting as commissioner, or if that shortlist is a shortlist for the persons who applied to be commissioner of police. I'm not sure. I'm not clear. The story does not make it clear. Right? And up to that point in time, the Police Service Commission has not said to us who the candidates are. So we don't know if these are candidates for acting commissioner or if these are candidates to be the actual commissioner. Then Newsday and Guardian say that the merit list has not been sent to the office of the president. So that was Bacchanal and Tantana Day. The list send, nobody absolutely certain. Then Anand Ramasa, on the 19th of August, he would have filed a lawsuit against the Police Service Commission over the selection process. Now, I don't know if you remember or not, but there was bacchanal about whether or not Griffith had done the polygraph test and passed the polygraph test. Because there was a lot of talk, a lot of rumors with respect to the polygraph test flying back and forth. And I was told, and I actually made comments about it on social media, I was told that at least one of the candidates who was supposed to be on a shortlist didn't pass the polygraph test or didn't take the polygraph test. I was also told that one of the candidates who was supposed to be interviewed didn't show up for the interview. And somehow, A passed the polygraph test, A show up for interview, but on a shortlist to go before the parliament to be voted on, right? So all kind of nonsense was taking place at that point in time. And I was hearing about it. Then, on the 20th of August, now we're going back, scrolling back up here. The 16th, Griffith would have said around that time that the 16th or 17th is when he confirmed that he acting as the commissioner of police, right? The 16th. Quite on the 20th is when the Police Service Commission issue a statement indicating that Griffith has been appointed to act as Commissioner of Police until the completion of a selection process. Now, Olia, it is at this point when I going through this timeline that I start to get confused, because When you understand how Legal Notice 183 is supposed to work, you now have to ask yourself, how the Police Service Commission could put out a notice on the 20th of August saying that they have appointed Griffith to act as Commissioner of Police when no listing reached the President, no listing go from the President to the Parliament, and no debating take place. And I want you all to keep reminding yourself of that. There is a clear process in law, a clear process that was passed in the Parliament, that passed through the Parliament and was declared by the office of the President, right? A clear process. Legal notice, surely the legal notice on Sunday. So once all you see that legal notice, you know that, sorry, not declared by the President. It would have been, oh my goodness. I will go back to it because there's a name at the bottom of it. Either which way, it is law. Right? It is clearly law. You have the law there. You have it there. And you know that that's the process. So how on the 20th of August, Ole could put out a press release saying that you have appointed Griffith to act as Commissioner of Police until completion of the selection process? Which selection process we talking about here? Are we talking about the acting selection process, or are we talking about the overall appointment to be Commissioner of Police selection process? Which selection process? And remember, I asked Ole from the start whether we getting a full day's work for a full day's pay from these people. So this piece of nonsense happens, and this is the thing you need to understand. Legislation, once you're changing and amending laws and them kind of thing, it had to pass to the President. The President has to see it because that's part of the role of the office of the President. The office of the President is protect and uphold the Constitution. That is one of the duties and responsibilities of the office of the President. So when I see something like that, where the Police Service Commission has decided that they are going to appoint Griffith as Commissioner of Police, not having gone through the process that is there in law, my next question is, so where the President in all of this? How come the President didn't speak to the Police Service Commission to say to them, hey, that is not the process, you know? Because I have been asking, and I have been asking since this time in August, since around the 20th of August, since the day I see the letter on the letterhead from the Police Service Commission, I have been asking. The Police Service Commission has appointed Griffith as Commissioner of Police by whose authority? Under whose power? Because if the legislation saying that it has to go through a particular process, they could nominate, then they submit to the President, and then when you reach section 123 of the Constitution, it's saying that the President had to send it to the Parliament and a vote has to be taken. How the Police Service Commission appoint Griffith? How? So the 20th, they issued our statement. The 23rd, Griffith put out a statement, a comment about catfight and he appointment as acting commissioner. Then the 26th, something interesting happens. Attorney Dave Persad writes to Blissy Persad, and he basically says to her that Griffith's appointment is illegal, null and void, and of no effect. Right? Up to now, we ain't hear from the President. We ain't hear from the President, and we ain't hear from the President, and none of this yet. So, Dave Persad writes, and he says this to Bliss. MSJ jumped in on the 27th, and they said that Griffith's acting appointment was quite unusual. Then, the Attorney General, the person who bring the new legislation to Parliament in June of this year, the person who bring that legal notice to Parliament in June of this year, he jump up and he says, it is good law. He defended it. He said that Dave Persad was mistaken, right? and it was a mistake to allege that the appointment of Griffith as acting cop has been indirectly done under law by the Police Service Commission. This is the 1st of September. Today is the 24th of September. So 23 days ago, the sitting Attorney General, who would have carried the legislation, drafted the legislation, and taken the legislation into Parliament, defends the law, right? Says it is good law. You are mistaken. Nothing wrong with the law. I actually messaged the Attorney General and I asked, under which section of the Constitution does the Police Service Commission have the power to appoint an acting commissioner of police? And I was told section 123. And I said to myself, but this is a kind of madness. It had to be that I don't know how to read and understand. It could only be that I failed comprehension when I went to school. Because the more I read and read and reread, and for the life of me, I can't see how the Police Service Commission in a position to appoint Griffith until and unless it go through the president and then it go through the parliament. And I know none of that happen. It ain't reached through the president and it ain't reached through the parliament. So how they could just appoint the man? Just so? Out of thin air? Or they just appoint people? Then, right after that, a set of business associations here, the Arima Business Association, the San Fernando Chamber of Commerce, a set of business people, right? From a particular social class, a set of business people start to jump forward and defend Griffith. What I want you all to also remember, by that time, we're getting close to a big mark busting in the papers. So all of these groups start to jump out to defend Griffith and say that, Griffith had to remain as commissioner of police and only a set of business groups, right? So I pause and I watching this thing and I saying to myself, but Gary Griffith is the commissioner of businessmen. Because to me, the commissioner of police is supposed to be the commissioner for everybody, all levels of society, all strata of society. The commissioner of police actually has to be neutral. The commissioner of police ain't supposed to be aligned with no particular group of persons or anything like that. So when I see the business community jump out, hot and sweaty, to defend the commissioner of police, I say, what is really going on here, boy? Then, on the 5th of September, Griffith goes on vacation. Now, I want to let her understand something. I could understand that Gary think he had a work, right? I could understand that. Because you get a letter from the Service Commission saying, we appoint you. What I don't understand is, for Gary to go on vacation, he had to write to the Police Service Commission and he has to write to the Minister of National Security, because I want to let her understand this. In the scheme of things, if they had gone through the proper procedure in Parliament, if they had gone through the proper procedure, where it go to the president, then it go to the Parliament. After that, the president would instruct the Police Service Commission to appoint whoever it is was selected as Commissioner of Police. And so they would have been able to give him a particular time that you are now going to be acting as commissioner for whatever period of time. And then the Minister of National Security, or the Ministry of National Security, they would function as the employer. And the Ministry of National Security would then issue a contract to the Commissioner of Police. In an article this week, right? In an article this week, either to the Newsday or to the Guardian or someone in the newspapers this week, Griffith actually said he don't have a contract. In an article this week, Griffith actually said he does not have a contract. So Olia, explain something to me now. if Griffith does not have a contract, how he went on leave? So he writes and he indicates that he is going on leave. And the entire time we are hearing that it is vacation leave. Then this week, what we find out when Hines went on Botiwari program. When Hines went on Botiwari program, you know what we find out? We find out that it was no pay leave. So if you have a work and you have a contract, it ought to indicate to you what leave you could take and not take. So Griffith comes back to work based on this timeline anywhere around the 17th or 18th of August, right? And by the 5th of September, so you come back to work and you work for about 2 weeks. And after you work for 2 weeks, you go on leave. And you tell everybody you're going on vacation leave. All you know anybody, sorry, all you know anybody at all who does go on vacation and 3-4 days into the vacation, they're writing to come back off vacation? All you know anybody who's so diligent? All you know anybody who have a work with the public service, and when they take vacation, from the public service, they just jump back and want to return to work early? I've seen all the comments about the Jacob on TV6 this evening. Don't worry, I'm going to talk to all about what is going to happen tomorrow. Right? Listen, this thing have level state, you know. This thing have level state. So in one week we hearing he go on vacation. Then within that first week of vacation, we hearing he coming off vacation. He write to say he coming back early from vacation to take back up his work. Then early this week we hear it wasn't vacation leave he was on. It was no pay leave. Then we find out from Griffith himself, he have no contract. So I want to know, if you have no contract, how you could be on no pay leave? Like, what leave were you on? If there is no contract, what leave? What? I am so confused. So, he goes on vacation. And he goes on vacation on the 5th of September. That same Monday, an investigation is launched into the firearms unit. I don't know if I'll remember that. Right? That same Monday. The same Monday that Griffith gets onto a plane to fly to Miami to go on a cruise somewhere, an investigation gets launched at in the firearms unit. And there's a story in the Express about there being a report that indicates that a senior police officer linked to a firearms racket inside the TTPS. Right? On the 6th of September, the Director of Personnel Administration for the Police Service Commission writes to Attorney Dave Persad and defends Griffith's appointment. And I want all you to understand that it have all kind of thing that happening here. Everybody defending the appointment. And I want all you to see the build up to defending the appointment. Because 2 days ago, no, not 2 days ago, today's Friday, so just yesterday, but it would have been two days ago in the papers, we start to hear a different story, right? So, the 6th of September, they defending the appointment. That same 6th of September, Rudal Munilal, a man who has donated water to the TTPS because he so loved the TTPS, Rudal Munilal jump out to say that it have a plot to fire Gary Griffith, right? Then on the 7th, the Minister of National Security said that he unable to shed any light on whether Griffith was entitled to take leave under the law, right? Because people who acting and people who in short-term contract, they don't get leave. They certainly don't get vacation leave. Then later on that day, Griffith tell the Newsday that he applied for leave 2 months ago, right? And it was leave for this period, and so a whole sort of back and forth, right? He applied for leave 2 months ago. Remember, during this week herself, we hear that it was no pay leave, and we hear that Griffith had no contract, right? This week herself. Then the Ramasa thing by the 10th of September start to heat up. Then by the 15th of September, middle of the month, Griffith on social media, lashing left, right, and center. And this is where he starts to blame the media. And he says that there's a conspiracy against him, that the media coming against him, right? That the media coming against him. Then Griffith, he sent out a WhatsApp message. Listen, WhatsApp left, right, and center, flying all over the place. Then it goes from it being a situation where the media against him, to the TTPS against him, to all kind of people against him, right? Then on the 17th of September, Monilal decided he wanted the president to intervene. Then Griffith tells the papers that Hines contact him and tell him to remain on leave, because by this time Griffith has written to indicate that he coming back from leave early and he going to resume duty as soon as he come back from leave. I had actually said to you all that I hear a man looking to get on a flight to come back home and land here evening. I had said it on Facebook. So Griffith decides that he cutting short his vacation. Remember, he went on vacation on the 5th. Then you're hearing that he want to come back before he vacation up. His vacation was supposed to go up until the 20th of September. In that period of time, what was taking place? Arrests and detention of persons linked to firearms business. Then an audit started to take place inside the firearms unit, right? Where they keep in all of the firearms. The FUL files. Then a person working inside of the administrative part of the TTPS gets arrested or gets detained. And that person, I'm hearing, had files on her, had money on her, had not guns, files, money, and phone. And it had a set of information on it. Then you start to hear that an audit was taking place in terms of what was going on with HR, right? So human resource things, because they all kind of things being raised up about who being hired, who being fired, who being moved around from this unit to that unit to the other unit. So all of this investigation gets launched into the TTPS. And then you are also hearing in the Ria Tate stories in the papers about this report that the chair of the National Security Council have a couple months now. And the report steamy too bad, because the report seems to be pointing to a lot of corruption taking place with firearms users' licenses. And the interesting thing is, a couple weeks before Toppy had gone on vacation, Toppy himself held a press conference wherein he said that in his 3 years as Commissioner of Police, he issued 5,000 firearms users' licenses. All you remember that? So I hear the figure is actually 6,800 and change, right? That is actually 6,800 and change. Then I hear the Ministry of Finance launch a financial audit, right? So the Ministry of Finance have public servants inside there who auditing what is going on with spending and procurement inside the TTPS. So a set of investigations taking place. Now, help me to understand something. Or you make it make sense for me. You take vacation, and you start to talk about whether or not you're supposed to be appointed to the position yet. You take vacation, and when all of this investigation start to take place, you have decided that you're coming back early from vacation to resume duties. If you've been sitting there for the last 3 years and these investigations taking place. And let me be very frank about it. When Griffith came into office, FUL licenses, he removed that and put it exactly under him, right? He became responsible for issuing FUL licenses to people. And in the last couple of weeks, we've been hearing about persons with multiple FUL licenses. All kind of 9 and 10 and 15 and 20 gun people have. And when they're going jogging, they have to go jogging with 2 guns in their waist and gun strapped to their chest and all kind of nonsense. And then 4 guns lie down on the floor of the car. All kind of craziness you're hearing. So FULs became your thing. According to the Constitution, human resource management is also your thing. According to the Constitution, the accounts of the TTPS is also your responsibility. So if there is an investigation taking place, and the investigation looking into FULs, the investigation looking into human resource management, and the investigation looking into how monies get spent inside the TTPS, anybody here not understanding that all of those investigations will involve Griffith? All of those investigations will involve Griffith. All of those investigations will require putting him under scrutiny. So how you could decide that you want to come back and resume duties at an institution where multiple investigations are going on that clearly will be looking into how you have been conducting affairs? It didn't take no maths to figure that out. And then you're reading the story in the papers that telling you all kind of thing. And don't get me started on our business with not guilty. Right? Mr. Chandler not guilty. I ain't going to get started on that just yet. So let me go back to my timeline. Then on the 18th of September, so by this time, Griffith has written and asked and said that he wants to return. He has also been told by the Minister of National Security, who he had to write to indicate he wants to come back early from his leave. He has been told by the Minister of National Security, remain on leave. Your leave is until the 20th of September, remain on leave. Griffith then writes, and then the Police Service Commission writes a letter to Griffith. So all of this happened on the 17th. They write a letter to him and they tell him, don't report for duty until further notice. Right? Now a couple things here. When Hines told Griffith, don't come back from your leave early, remain on leave. Griffith went to the papers one time and say, Hines can't instruct me. No minister could tell me what to do. That is political interference. No government can't tell me what to do. And he's right. Government can't tell him what to do. Right? If you have to apply for your leave through the PSC, then it's the PSC that have to tell you whether you could come off leave or not come off leave. But the minister says to you, you have written and applied for leave up until the 20th. Remain on leave. And then the Police Service Commission writes to him and says, there are investigations going on and we think it will be in the country's best interest if you not report for duty until further notice. Griffith then writes to the chairman, threatening to file legal action. And it is here where the things start to go into turbo. Because when he threatens to take legal action, he then gives them an ultimatum. And that would have happened on the 18th. So that is just this week, that in the last week. Right? The ultimatum was, you had to withdraw that letter to me by Sunday afternoon. And if you withdraw that letter to me by Sunday afternoon, then I taking you to court. Now, all you, it have all kind of madness that has gone on in this place. All kind of madness that has gone on in this place. But it has certain madness that beat back all cockfight. And you see the madness that occur from Sunday to now, it beat back all cockfight. And I want you all to continue to understand something. Based on our Constitution, the Police Service Commission has to put together a merit list, send the merit list to the president. The president has to then send that list to the parliament. The parliament then has to debate, and that is how we can get an acting commissioner of police, right? According to the law that's down there right now. Right after Griffith threatened to sue the Police Service Commission, on the 19th, Anand Ram Logan, on behalf of Ravi Balgobin Maharaj, jump out to say he taken this matter of Legal Notice 183 and Section 123 of the Constitution to court. So the same thing I talked to all about this Sunday evening, the same thing Anand Ram Logan come and say he going to court for. So then Griffith now decide he getting together his legal team to take the Police Service Commission to court. In what capacity? I don't know. I'm still trying to understand. Then we have that explosive email, and it is at this point in time I could change from this screen and we could go to the other screen because I want to show you the email. So let me show you the gentleman in question. This is Roger Kewal Singh. Roger Kewal Singh was nominated to sit on the Police Service Commission back in 2019. And when he was nominated to sit on the Police Service Commission back in 2019, there was a lot of noise from the opposition about it. And there's a lot of noise from the opposition about it because they felt that Mr. Kewal Singh was pretty close to the sitting Attorney General. They felt that he and Faris had, there was too much going on between him and Faris. And the government would have got up and they would have pointed out that Mr. Kewal Singh has also worked very closely with persons from the United National Congress. Right? So you have a situation where both sides saying, well, one side saying, well, we don't want, he too close to the Attorney General. The next side saying, but he close to Olia too. Olin have a problem when he working close with Olia. And he gets nominated and appointed and instruments of appointment to sit on the Police Service Commission. Many of you would have seen, ought to have seen. Do I have that picture here, boy? Yeah, man. Look the picture here. Many of you would have seen this picture this week. If all you see this picture this week, I'll show you already the picture now. If you recognize the gentleman in the brightly colored leopard print shirt, that's the Commissioner of Police in 2019. The gentleman behind him in the blue and the blue and blue plaid shirt, that is Attorney Roger Kewal Singh. This was a story in The Guardian in 2019. This was a story in The Guardian in 2019 when Attorney Kewal Singh was appointed or was nominated to sit on the Police Service Commission because there were a series of emails going back and forth from the opposition that had made it into the public domain through, I think, then MP Suraj Rambachan. And what they were implying is that there is a close relationship between Kewal Singh and Griffith. Griffith came out and said that there's no close relationship. Attorney Kewal Singh's daughter had a birthday party and the daughter wanted to meet the Commissioner of Police, and Kewal Singh asked the Commissioner of Police to attend the birthday party, and he attended the birthday party. Now, I'm telling all of this. Any two people with common sense will understand immediately there's a conflict of interest. That's not a favor to ask somebody. If you are sitting on the Police Service Commission and you know you have to be in a position where you are evaluating and assessing this man because that's what the Police Service Commission does. After they have hired you, the other thing they just have to do is do your evaluations and appraisals on a regular basis. So you come in to tell me that you know you have to do this man's evaluations and appraisals on an annual basis, and you're asking the man to come to your daughter's birthday party as a favor to you? What the fuck I just be hearing sometimes? So imagine I sit down and I reading this story back from 2019, and I am thinking to myself, nobody thought there was anything weird or wrong with that? Nobody thinks that there's anything that's particularly odd about somebody who has to sit on a commission that evaluates the Commissioner of Police, inviting the Commissioner of Police to his house for a birthday party because his daughter wants to meet the Commissioner of Police? Nobody? No? It's only I that find this thing weird? Seriously? So, that is Kewal Singh. I want to show you the letter. Where is letter, boy? Right. Monday of this week, Kewal Singh finger slip, and he sent a letter, actually 20th of September 9/27, based on the document I have in front of me. Kewal Singh finger slip, and he was writing a letter to the commission, and in writing a letter and sending a letter to the commission, he make a mistake apparently, and also send the letter to the commissioner. Here's what I want all you to remember. We are in the middle of a selection process for Commissioner of Police, right? We're in the middle of them having received applications from people, and they're going through applications and they're evaluating people and they're creating short lists. And Roger decides to send a letter meant for the Police Service Commission to his partner in the leopard print blouse. So let's check out the letter. Because all you know me. All you know, all the girl is always come with your facts. And I like to come with my documents. So look the letter. The letter end up in the Express today. The Express, not today. The Express had a story this week. And I know all you don't read the whole papers. But all you need to start to read stories properly, like fully, when all you're following an issue, right? So let me go from the top. So from Kewal Singh, who sits on the Police Service Commission, to the various commissioners, and watch who is the first person named in the line of names that gets copied. Copied to Gary Griffith. This is an email between the various members of the Police Service Commission, and the email is sent to Griffith. This is Griffith, who is currently getting ready to take the Police Service Commission to court. So I want all you to understand something. Them might be stupid, but me is stupid. My mother never make no ass. So I understand. If I in a situation where I taken somebody to court, and I taken them to court to sue them for suspending me or for rescinding the work that they give me, if I could get correspondence from the commission between the members of the commission, that go help my case, right? So you have a whole letter here from Kewal Singh, and you know what the letter says to the chairman of the commission of the Police Service Commission? Kewal Singh writes to the chairman of the Police Service Commission saying, we're not in agreement with the letter that you sent to Griffith last week on the 16th or the 17th thereabouts to say remain on leave. We thought that what we was going to do was have an informal conversation with him and ask him to stay on leave until the investigation over. So how you go write and tell the commissioner this? So let me read it out for you. Dear Chair, I write in relation to the letter, the subject of this email. When we spoke yesterday, I indicated that I did not have the benefit of seeing the letter as I had issues with the internet and as was obvious from our earlier meeting. Insofar as the letter is written by you and set out certain events based on your recall, I can have no objections. I do, however, wish to remind that I have maintained that I am happy to abide by whatever decision, provided that the process was followed. That, in my view, the process was agreed upon at our meeting on Friday, the 17th of September, was not followed. That the letter of the 17th of September that was sent by you with reference to the other commissioners, and that the other commissioners did not, as requested, have the benefit of independent legal advice on issues of concern. That the three other commissioners were of the view that based on the above letter, you indicated that the letter will not be withdrawn. So, I reading this and I saying to myself, if this letter was meant for Bliss Sipasad, and it was meant for the other commissioners to see what he had to say to Bliss Sipasad about her letter, about the commission's letter, or the commissioner's letter to Griffith, why he copy Gary on this? Why is Gary copied on this? And if you know, because by this point in time, Griffith's letter to the commission basically saying withdraw the suspension or are taken all to court, that would have been, they would have gotten that letter. So a letter like this only serves to bolster Griffith's case before the court of law. So I thought to myself, this a kind of madness. You would copy a letter like this to Griffith, and you know that your service commission likely to be in court with Griffith, because this letter end up in Griffith's hand on the Monday, and by the Tuesday, Griffith take the commission to court. All you understand that? This letter got into Griffith's hand on the Monday, and on the Tuesday, Griffith and his attorneys were in court with the PSC in court. So if you have a letter like this in hand, along with, I think, some other letter from Justice Stanley John, you're building a case. So I am there wondering, why would Roger K. Walsing copy what's supposed to be sensitive and confidential correspondence between the Service Commission to Griffith? And I want you to also bear this in mind. Griffith would have been a candidate to become Commissioner of Police. So it's not just that you have shared this with the commissioner or the acting commissioner or the want to be acting commissioner who looking to take all to court. You are also sharing this with somebody who is a candidate before the commission, being evaluated by the commission, who wants to become an appointed Commissioner of Police. All of that madness happened there this week, And up to now, Roger K. Walsing has not tendered his resignation as somebody who's sitting on the Police Service Commission. But I'm going to come back to the Police Service Commission, right? I'm going to come back to them. So that happens on Monday. Monday evening, this goodly gentleman, his name is Courtney McNish. He is also somebody who sat on the Police Service Commission. Courtney McNish tendered his resignation. And Courtney McNish tendered his resignation. And this morning was busy saying how he thinks he did the right thing. But I have some questions for Courtney McNish. So Kewal Singh leaked a letter. Sorry, not leak. Copy a letter. And after Kewal Singh copied a letter, the next day, Griffith went to court. Anand Ram Logan also went to court, right? So it had two legal matters, both to do with the Police Service Commission in court. One has Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj SC leading it, and that's Gary Griffith's case against the Police Service Commission. And then there's Anand Ram Logan SC, who also has a matter against the Police Service Commission, because Anand is saying that what the Police Service Commission did was illegal and unconstitutional. And Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj is there defending Gary Griffith's right to hold on to this work with the PSC. So one saying he is supposed to have the work because it goes against the Constitution, what the Constitution says. And the next one saying he had to have the work because the Police Service Commission should not have sent him on leave, right? That's the bacchanal that's taking place there. So he steps down. What's the next thing that happens? Then a man write an opinion, a legal opinion. Let me find a legal opinion for you, because all you need to see this legal opinion and understand what this legal opinion is saying. So there is a legal opinion. See that same law we're talking about? Actually, let me go back to the legal notice, right? I'm gonna show you the legal notice first, and then we're gonna talk, right? So on Sunday evening, when I was talking to you, we looked at paragraph 4, right? And we looked at paragraph 4 and we talked about what paragraph 4 was saying. Because I told you all in this legal notice number 183, this paragraph 4 was causing problems because it says very clearly that they could submit a list to the president of suitably qualified persons, and then after that, it doesn't say what's the next step, right? And this was the 17th of June 2021, right? When this was sorted out, the 17th of June 2021. Good. That is legal notice, and I want all you to see paragraph 4. Let us now go and look at this particular legal opinion from the goodly Justice Ralston Nelson, who is the former head of the Caribbean Court of Justice. I want all you to see. What is going on here, boy? All right, just now. Let me get to this thing. Right. So this is Justice Nelson's legal opinion, and the 1, 2, 3 is about 5 pages long. The opinion real interesting, you know, but we ain't had time to read through the whole opinion this evening. Plus, I put the opinion up on Facebook earlier on in the week. I want all you to see the conclusion, and I'm going to read the conclusion slowly for you. He says, in view of the foregoing, I would advise as follows. On the facts before me, if the basis of the acting appointment in the Police Service Commission letter was paragraph 4, the same paragraph 4 we just looked at, the same paragraph 4 I sit down here with all you Sunday evening and talk about. If the acting appointment in the letter was done on the basis of paragraph 4 of the order, it was based on a paragraph of that legal notice which lacked virez. It lacked strength. It lacked any sort of any sort of legality. Even if it had virez, as a matter of fact, the nomination was not submitted to or approved by the Parliament. So, I tell all you, since Sunday, it have a particular process. Clause 4 they have no authority under Clause 4 to appoint nobody as Commissioner of Police. They cannot do it on the basis of Clause 4. On the basis of Clause 4, if you're going through the process that Clause 4 gives you, they have to come up with a list, a merit list, send it to the president, and then the president had to send it to the parliament. And Justice Nelson is saying it was not submitted or approved by the parliament. Now let us go on. If the basis of the appointment was section 123(1)(a) of the Constitution, remember I tell earlier, after Clause 4, after you come out of that legal notice, you had to leave that legal notice and go right back to the main Constitution and go under section 123. So he says, if the basis of the appointment was section 123(1)(a) of the Constitution, since for the period of the acting appointment, the incumbent commissioner would otherwise be a non-police officer, his appointment would have to be approved by Parliament. That was not done in this case. So from whatever angle you look at it, thing had to reach the Parliament and Parliament had to approve it, because if you're going with the legal notice basically says the PSC could put together a list, send the list to the president send it to the parliament have to approve. When they approve, they tell the president tell the PSC appoints then. Only after those things have happened. And if you're going back to the original section 123(1)(a) of the Constitution, somebody who is not a police officer, because his acting appointment expired, right? Somebody who is not a police officer cannot be appointed just like that to be the commissioner, acting or otherwise. No, somebody who is not a police officer cannot act as the commissioner of police, because according to section 123(1)(a) alone of the Constitution, only the most senior police officer, that is who the PSC could appoint. And they did not appoint the most senior police officer in the service at that point in time. So he contract expire and Ole went and appoint him and did not follow any of the processes or channels that you were supposed to follow. So this is where I come back now to talk about the Police Service Commission. So let me look at them one at a time. One at a time. Because I want to talk about each of these persons and the role that they were supposed to play for us. Remember, I start by talking about public servants giving us an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Good. Let me start with the chair. No. We ain't starting with the chair. Let me go back to Gary Fuen. This is Roger K. Walsing. Roger K. Walsing is an attorney. As an attorney, he's supposed to have a legal mind and a legal background, which means that Roger K. Walsing ought to have been able to read Legal Notice 183 and understand how Legal Notice 183 was meant to work, right? So I want all you to understand that. As a lawyer, because I's not a lawyer, I's a school teacher, right? So if I, as a school teacher, you find the picture with the suit too ugly, all you want the next picture instead, I could give all of the next picture, you know, me have a problem giving all of the next picture. Right. Since all you find the picture with the suit here looking cute, right. So we could take him in any blue shirt, lime him with his partner. In his leopard print blouse. So, Roger K. Walsing is a lawyer. Your whole work, your whole education is to prepare you to read the Constitution, understand the Constitution, and interpret law, right? You're supposed to understand law. You're supposed to see that particular issue and say to yourself, well, all right, this seems to be saying this, and since this seems to be saying this, maybe let me seek advice and make sure that this is the case, right? So that's Roger Kewal Singh. Let me go to the next person now. This is Suzanne Craig James. She also sits on the Police Service Commission. Suzanne Craig James, to my understanding, is a historian and a researcher, right? That's how I know her. I know her as a historian. I have several of her books here because she's done history books on Tobago. I believe she's Tobagonian. Suzanne Craig James, as somebody who is a historian, who has a background in history, ought to have an understanding for things like precedent and research. She ought as well to be in a position to see a piece of legislation and say, you know what, maybe this is something that we need to get better advice on, right? That's Suzanne Craig James, and she there next to Paula May. I ain't calling nobody Her Excellency no more because you ain't doing your work. This is Courtney McNish. Courtney McNish has a background in human resource management. Now, I have plenty things that I want to be able to say here. You sit down on a commission for the last 2 to 3 years. All kind of wildness going inside the TTPS where men get transferred, men get fired, men get moved wrong, all kind of nonsense. Your work is to evaluate how things happening with this commissioner of police. And you said not one peep. You didn't say one ass the entire time you sit down there as a commissioner, right? About what was happening with respect to human resource management inside the TTPS. And then right after you decide to resign, you're putting a big status on Facebook about how you're feeling good because you did the right thing. So what happened to the last 2 to 3 years that you was serving as a commissioner for the Police Service Commission? When all kind of wildness was going on with respect to HR and HR issues inside the TTPS. What was going on then? And since you are a person who knows about HR and HR best practice, explain to me, Mr. McNish, how you as a commissioner could think, how you as a member of this commission could think that what you all did on August the 20th was best practice. With all of the background you have in HR, how the hell all you could have think that what you all did on the 20th of August was best practice? In your entire lifetime, having to deal up with HR and HR issues, Mr. McNish, have you ever been in a position where somebody contract expire and then without having the power to reappoint them, you reappoint them, and then right after you reappoint them to act, they go on vacation leave? That ever happened with your entire background of human resource, Mr. McNish? That happened? That's a normal thing? So you rock back on social media this morning. Oh, you have done the right thing. But for 2 or 3 years, when the wrong thing inside the TTPS taking place and the wrong thing happening with the PSC, you had nothing to say. This week, Monday here, is when suddenly you find the backbone and the cojones to do the right thing? Ah, boy. Waste of money and time. Just like the other commissioners. All of you. Waste of money. Waste of my taxpayers' dollars. And then This lady is Bliss Sipasad. I have spoken about Bliss Sipasad here already. Bliss Sipasad has a background in finance and organizational structure, organizational management, right? For the last 3 years, there has been an entity set up by the TTPS called ISOS in support of our service. Bliss Sipasad never once, to the best of my knowledge, because she ain't put out no report about it and she ain't put out no correspondence about it. And since no report and no correspondence went out into the public domain about it, and there was no accountability from the TTPS to the public about it, I feel I could say, Ollie ain't asked Gary nothing about what was going on with ISOS. No, nobody interested. I have heard that people have lodged complaints and sent forward complaints to the Police Service Commission about Griffith and Griffith's behavior. And this commission has done nothing about it. That is the head of the commission there. Right? That is the head of the commission there. I have heard about all kind of bubble and racket to do with firearms users license. Hototo among some money. I have heard people make claims about what has taken place with the ISOS organization, where business entities encouraged to put money and to make contributions towards the TTPS. In all of this, a person who is responsible for things like finance management and organizational structure, he asks no questions. In her evaluation of Griffith, nothing like that would have taken place. Only in the last 2 weeks, you decide to do any sort of investigation. But the last 3 years, when all you're supposed to be doing appraisals and evaluations of the man, nothing like that taking place, despite all of the stories that are in the public domain. And I supposed to believe anything coming out all your mouth this week? I supposed to believe anything coming out all your mouth this week? I supposed to believe anything coming out from Ole for the last month? For the last year? For the last 3 years? So then, the Prime Minister came on Thursday. And I don't know how much you all listened to the Prime Minister press conference on Thursday. In that press conference, the Prime Minister admitted that legal notice number 183 is bad law. I want all to remember, because we started the live by saying this. Faris Al-Rawi, at the start of September, was defending legal notice 183. 23 days ago, the Attorney General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the legal advisor to the cabinet, was on record in the press defending legal notice 183, saying that all of these other lawyers wrong and that the Police Service Commission was right and correct in appointing Griffith to act as commissioner under the new legislation, legal notice 183. Right? Presman again. I fed up tell all about them Presman, you know. Right? So, legal notice 183 at the start of September was good law. Legal notice 183 by the 23rd of September is bad law. And according to newspaper reports, the Attorney General, who is the legal advisor to the cabinet, who would have been responsible for drafting this law, has been instructed to go to the courts and declare that the law is bad law. Listen, the same law that at the start of September was good law is now, at the 23rd of September, bad law. And you know it is I like about my public? All it is get and pick up thing, you know. Because Sunday, when I was reading out this legislation to all you and explaining the legislation to all you, plenty of all you in the chat was saying, but how this thing sounding like Section 34 so. And there's the first meme I see. After the Prime Minister talk on Thursday, there's the first meme I see. The first meme that gets sent to me. UNC equals Section 34. PNM equal paragraph 4. Let me show you the next meme I see. What, when this reach in my inbox, so I open my eye and I say, boy, people understand what is going on. This morning in the papers, I saw a story that said, it quoted the Attorney General, as a matter of fact. It was in the Newsday. Quoting the Attorney General, saying that the Parliament is looking to convene to change the law. Mr. Attorney General, I want to say this. This sitting government cannot afford to act the way the United National Congress acts. This sitting government cannot afford to act in that way. To have come before the Parliament and used your authority in the Parliament to pass a law like Legal Notice 183, wherein, and let me go back to the legal notice and what the legal notice allows for, because I don't want nobody to be confused here. This legal notice changed things up and allowed somebody who functioned as who functioned as a contract commissioner to be able to come back and act as commissioner. Right? That is what Legal Notice 183 allowed. That is what Paragraph 4 allowed. Paragraph 4 amended the law, and amended the law in such a way that somebody who wasn't a member of the TTPS, somebody who didn't sit in the TTPS as a serving police officer, if once you had been on contract before in the TTPS, according to Paragraph 4, you could now come back and act as commissioner. Prior to Paragraph 4, the only person or persons who could qualify to act as commissioner would be the most senior officers in the TTPS. You couldn't have a situation where somebody who had been on contract come back and act. So Dwayne Gibbs and Gary Griffith are the only two persons that would have been on contract as police commissioners, right? So based on this piece of legislation that get changed on the 17th of June, either Gary or Dwayne Gibbs could come back and act. But for them to act, a merit list had to go from the PSC to the president, and then it had to reach in the Parliament. That didn't happen. Instead, what we have is a situation where Bliss Sipasad and her commission, well, according to the commission, Bliss Sipasad and her commission would have made a decision to appoint Gary Griffith as acting commissioner. So I want to ask this question again. The Police Service Commission appointed Gary Griffith on the 20th of August to act as Commissioner of Police by whose authority? I'm asking the question, and I'm asking the question as often as I can ask the question. Who would have told the Police Service Commission that Gary Griffith could act as commissioner? Who gave them that advice? Who is the person to have told the Police Service Commission that Gary Griffith could act as Commissioner of Police? Because that's real important. if that entire commission see this legal notice and realize that the legal notice say you have to pass on a list of people to the president, who would have said to them, it's okay for you to go ahead and appoint Griffith as Commissioner of Police? Who? By what authority did Bliss C. Prasad, Roger K. Walsing, Suzanne Craig James, Courtney McNish decide in August of 2021 to appoint Griffith to act as Commissioner of Police? By what authority? And why have we not yet heard from the office of the president on this particular issue? But I want to go further. Yes, the live ain't done. I have plenty to get off my chest. The plot thick, right? If you put a wooden spoon to stand up in this plot right now, it's at a tension, right? So, where that thing, boy? Where that thing? Oops. Just now. So this comes to me today. And when it reach, I post it up and then I take it down. There's a notice saying that there's a press release tomorrow. And let me tell you why I take it down. I take it down because the story I get is this. I hear the former Commissioner of Police call the boy Francis Joseph and give Francis Joseph instructions to write up this press release and put out this press release, right? And the press release basically says that there's a media briefing that's taking place tomorrow. And let me tell you what is I hear supposed to happen in that media briefing tomorrow. I hear that in that media briefing tomorrow, Griffith and Acting Commissioner McDonald Jacob going to be present. McDonald Jacob is going to be there. He has been asked to sit in on the press conference. And Griffith is going to say that he is stepping aside until the end of October. And he is stepping aside until the end of October, right? So he's stepping down as commissioner until the end of October. So when I hear that piece of story, I said to myself, stepping down from what? What is he stepping down from? Because Thursday yesterday, the Prime Minister admits that Legal Notice 183 is unconstitutional, right? Legal Notice 183 not making sense. You have an opinion from Justice Nelson that says they have no leg to stand on. The Police Service Commission ain't have no leg to stand on. Paragraph 4 ain't making no sense. It ain't have no vires. And if they have to go through appointing a commissioner according to section 123(1)(a, they still ain't do the thing the right way. So how can Griffith step down from a post that the Police Service Commission had no power to appoint him to? All you understanding where I'm coming from with this? All you grasping the point that I'm trying to make here? Griffith has been fighting for the last 2 to 3 weeks for a job that the Police Service Commission had no authority to appoint him to. So if the Police Service Commission has no authority to appoint him to a job in the manner in which they went about appointing him to a job, what work? What work you have? You ain't had no work. Right? You ain't had no work. So you ain't had no work. Them come and tell you, take the work that they may have no right to give you. And now I am hearing that a press conference taking place tomorrow for Griffith to say that he's stepping down from a work that he don't have. What level of madness taking place here? What is going on? How people could be giving people work that they have no power to give people? How people could be fighting for work that nobody could have given them? And how people could then want to say that they're stepping down or stepping aside from a work that don't exist? So when I see this, I say, but wait now. There's no normal mass band that playing here, you know. There's a serious mass band that playing here. And I keep asking, who advised the Police Service Commission and tell the Police Service Commission that they in a position to give this man a acting work? And then further to that, who has been interfering with the Police Service Commission for the last couple of weeks? Right? When this whole piece of bacchanal and madness going on, who is the person that has been involved? And then when I hear this thing going to be amended, who going to amend that now? Who amending that? The same person who drafted it in the first place going to be the person to amend it? That's what is taking place here. So let me pull up, because I ain't really want to use the other picture, because I know the other picture will be causing people heartache. Plus the other picture kind of blurry. So let me get into this, because this is where I want to start to wrap things up. We can't sit down here whole night. It's Republic evening. I want to go and set off fireworks for myself. Faris Alwari needs to step down as Attorney General. I have said it. Me ain't putting no water in my mouth to say it. I'm saying it with my mouth empty of water. That piece of legislation, how the legislation was drafted, how the legislation was passed, is for me incredibly disturbing. The things that I am hearing behind the scenes about interference and who advising whom and who not advising whom and who is friend with who and who is not friend with who and who instructing who and who not instructing who. Me and one other come here and sit down and talk about all the things that I'm hearing and the other things that I know. Because me ain't looking to set up myself for no defamation case. But I will say this. On the basis of the drafting of that piece of legislation, law that is bad, law that is unconstitutional, Faris needs to resign. He needs to step down. The entire Police Service Commission needs to step down. The entire Police Service Commission needs to step down. And Gary Griffith needs to stop gaslighting the population and churning up mischief in the public domain, because there is no damn acting commission work for you. The Police Service Commission was never in a position to appoint you to be acting commissioner of police until and unless a merit list was sent to the president and then from the president went to the parliament for debate. So since that process never happened, it is not your work, and you need to stop bawling and making noise in the public domain and begging people for work and threatening people for work and accusing people of wanting to fire you when the job is not yours. Stop it. Stop doing it. The president is an embarrassment. There are only two ways that you can get rid of a president, according to our constitution. The president had to either be mad or she had to get involved in criminal activity. But as far as I'm concerned, the president is an embarrassment to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She has allowed this entire situation to get out of hand. She clearly not keeping an eye on her Police Service Commission. She not abreast of anything that is taking place. And you, madam, not in a position to take off your belt for nobody else ever again while you are president of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So Faris, time for you to go. So the AG has to walk, as far as I'm concerned. Has to go. That piece of law, how the law was passed, how the law was drafted, what the law allowed for, the fact that the law was incomplete, and the fact that all of this foolishness take place, and at no point in time anybody realized that the Police Service Commission was doing utter foolishness, not a good look. Gary, you gotta go too. Hush and go quietly. Police Service Commission, tender your resignation. And if all you can do this by Monday, please and thanks, I'd be very happy. Because as a taxpayer, I fed up see my money whine and jump up in a mass band going down the road. And that is where I'm going to have to wrap this up, folks. I hope you all enjoyed the timeline. I hope all you understand the degree of foolishness that went down here. I hope all you see that is a situation where a whole bunch of people colluding and conspiring to do something that they never had the power to do in the first place. And the people who's supposed to have oversight and the people who's supposed to keep people in check not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you have the office of the president who in charge and responsible for the PSC, and she seems to be none the wiser about what is going on with your own service commission. You have a police service commission with 4 professionals, and all 4 professionals seem to be none the wiser about what they're supposed to be doing. You have an attorney general who drafting law, and he is drafting bad law. Law so bad that it have a process and it unconstitutional. And you have a former commissioner of police who believes that he is entitled to a work that by law he not even supposed to have at this point in time. So you see, tomorrow if people come and telling all in a press conference they're stepping down and they're stepping aside from a work, have a couple basic questions to ask. What work? What authority? Who put you there? Who gave whom the authority to put you in any position? Them is the questions you had to be asking tomorrow. So pay attention to what is coming out in press conferences on this issue. Because the most important thing to remember is, right now, nobody followed the process that is currently enshrined in law. And the law that currently sitting down there for them to appoint an acting commissioner of police is bad law. And nobody had a role yet. And as far as I'm concerned, with the foolishness that take place here, within the last month alone, plenty heads had a role. I hear with them. I hear with them. Well, have a good evening. Oh, I hear with them. On Sunday evening, I have David West of the PCA. So, David West, president of the, director of the PCA, is going to be here. See you all on Sunday.